In this recording, I'd like to talk about the find duplicates wizard query that we can use to find duplicate records. As I mentioned in this database, as I mentioned on the early recordings, in this database, each record is uniquely identified by an auto number field. Whenever I create a new record, it automatically adds a new value for me. The 144 just means that the 141, 142, 143 have already been used. They will never be reused, even if you immediately delete them. But it automatically adds a new value, which means the primary key is guaranteed to be unique. However, that still doesn't prevent you from entering a second customer with the same name. Because there's really nothing in our design anywhere that prevents that. So we can have duplicate records, and we want to avoid customers with the same name being in the database twice, because we might be sending out an advertisement with coupons. Same customer would get 2 coupons, not necessarily what we want. And it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but I used to get 2-3 copies of flyers or magazines every month because they had my name in the database typed 3 different ways. Or I changed my address and they didn't update the address correctly, and so it was sent to me in my new address, sent to me in my old address, and I get extra copies of these things. What we're trying to do is avoid duplicate data. What the find duplicates query allows you to do is look for potential duplicates. What you have to decide is what defines a potential duplicate. So let's see if we can first of all find duplicate orders. I want to make sure the same order is not entered in my database twice, because that of course would screw up my statistics. To find duplicates, you use a wizard again. You might remember from the crosstabs recording, if you listen to it, that there's 3 things I use the wizard for: crosstabs, duplicates, and my next recording, unmatched. Here's the duplicates wizard. First thing it wants to know is which table do you want to look at? Table orders. And what defines potentially a duplicate order? Which fields would you use to define a potentially duplicate order? I don't expect a customer to order from me twice on the same date. It happens very, very rarely. So I'm going to be looking for that. On the same date, the same customer. This is usually 2, could be 3 fields. Maybe it's only 1, but typically it's 2 or 3 different fields that you want to take a look at to make sure there are no duplicates. So those are the 2 fields that Access is going to look at, and it's going to find duplicates in those fields, and then you can display other information if you want, like the size and the order total, to see if they're really different. Give it a name: query duplicate orders. Next. And there we have it. I can see that Eamon Atack ordered 2 pizzas on this date. But because of the extra information that I've displayed, and this is what Access was analyzing, these fields, they're identical. So this might be a duplicate order, but we can see the size is different and the cost is different. So I'm guessing he came back that night because his child was still hungry, or I don't know why. But he came back and ordered another pizza. And so this is okay. It's not a duplicate, but we can look at it. We could have taken it to another level. We could have, in the Design tab, said, and notice now, this I wouldn't want to have to type over and over and over again. Notice the big ugly query that got put in there. If I wanted to redo this query and say, take a look at the customer, the date, and the size, and show me wherever those are the same, then I would have eliminated those duplicates. I would have had no duplicates. Is it possible for a customer to come in and order a large pizza at lunch and another large pizza at dinner? Sure it is, but I at least want to analyze those. Right? So that's a find duplicate. Let's do another one on customers, just to make sure we don't have any duplicate customers in here. So I'm going to create, using my wizard, a find duplicates query. What designates a duplicate customer? The customer IDs are guaranteed to be unique. I'm just going to go with the first name and the last name. Double click them. And then what else do you want to display? I think I'll take the phone number. Next. And this will be query duplicate customer. Finish. Aren't any. All right, so that's good. I don't have any duplicate customer. I don't have 2 customers with the same name. Now, obviously, it is possible to have 2 John Smiths as your customer. They might be different. Maybe you want to take a look at their phone number and include that in there. Right? But the risk you run there is if John Smith changes his phone number and you add a new record for him, now you've got John Smith in there twice with two different phone numbers. Maybe it's better to just look at the John Smiths and have a secretary call them both and make sure both numbers are still accurate. It's two different people. You might store middle names. You might store addresses. There are other ways, but you've got to find, this is to help you find those duplicate records. Duplicate records are considered an error in a database. It messes up statistics. It messes up mailings. It does all kinds of problems. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to the customers table now. Save that query, and I'm going to add a new customer. And I happen to know that I'm already in here. There I am. So I'm going to add myself to this again. And we'll take my work phone number, 342. Those dots and the pound signs are coming from a mask that we created in a recording in Unit 1. And notice it lets me do that. There's no errors. And there's really no good way to check for that, right? Except for this find duplicates query. So I'm going to close that. And now I'm going to refresh this query. Remember from the Home tab, there's a refresh that says things may have changed. Look again. Or I can simply close it and say I want to find duplicate customers. Now notice now there's two Volker Galls. They have two different phone numbers. Does that mean there's one Volker Gall or there's two with different phone numbers? Again, you might have one of your staff members call both phone numbers, make sure they're still accurate. And if there's a problem, potentially delete one of these. Right. But there you have to be careful because if Volker Gall already has 17 orders in the database, this is the newest Volker Gall. How can we tell? Maybe we put the ID numbers in there. Right. Maybe you delete the newest and hope that he doesn't have any orders, and then simply change the phone number on this one to be the new updated phone number, which is what should have been done in the first place. But you can't just haphazardly go deleting customers because there may be orders attached to them. Access won't even let you do that. And so your next step then is to go check out those two Volker Galls and find out which ones have orders. If they both have orders, you're going to have to manipulate the data somehow so that they're both attached to the same Volker Gall if there's only one. So that's the find duplicates query. It helps you find duplicate data. Duplicate data is very important to keep out of your database.